Ground sites Ohio-born astronauts like John Glenn and Neil Armstrong, aviation pioneers the Wright brothers, the NASA Glenn Research Center in Cleveland, the Armstrong Test Facility in Sandusky, as well as a wide swath of research conducted at universities and colleges in Ohio as primary reasons the Buckeye State would make a great home for the Space Force.
What's up, everybody? It's the one, the only Alcor Star Child here. It's funny, Alcor Star Child. But anyhow, I know that there's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm going to miss in this video because there's a lot to unpack. And I also think that these videos are just a colossal waste of time because I don't think people really are paying attention to this stuff. But for the few of you who are paying attention, other than those of you who are in the government who are paying attention, who are very much paying attention to the stuff I'm talking about, especially some of you who are in the Space Force who are also, on this case, which I'm going to talk about that, that the truth behind what really is Space Force, other than, I know the overall stuff that's up front that everybody, talks about, Space Command, all this, and, the fact that China and Russia have their own Space Force and they're doing things up there, with maybe attacking satellites and all that. That's all surface stuff that anybody can see, just like the surface stuff that the Navy gives you, the surface stuff that the Air Force, Marines also give you. There is a hidden part of Space Force, maybe even hidden from those who are in Space Force, that they don't know about the other layer that's going on in there. And I know this for a fact that it is happening because somebody very close to me has a couple of people who are high-ranking, very, very high-ranking generals in Space Force who are, involved with what's going on with myself and someone else with this stuff, with the alien stuff that's going on, right? And I'm not going to disclose any names or any information and stuff like that. That's just not going to happen. I'm not going to put anybody out there. In fact, the people in Space Force, most likely, most of them are probably very good people. So I am not making an enemy out of anybody in the military or government or any of that stuff, because that's just not the position that I hold. My position is, here's the information, here's the facts, here's the evidence. It's for everyone, not just for the civilians, but also for the military and government people who are unaware of this stuff, but also for people who are aware of this stuff and that, hey, yeah, I know what's going on, and it's easy to see, it's easy to find out. But yeah, there are people actively in the Space Force working on alien stuff and working most likely with alien species. And you're going to need this, and there's a reason why you will need this. And I'm gonna get through all these images and stuff and the websites you're seeing up there in a moment. You need a Space Force to be presented before you actually the veil goes up, right? The veil isn't just going to go up and all of a sudden there are alien species on every television show and every bit of news and everywhere where they're just, hey, they're here, it's out in the open. They would have to have something like this before that happens. They're not going to say, oh my gosh, now what are we going to do? We've been caught off guard. We need to make a branch of a military and government dedicated to this, to dealing with these alien species. Of course, this is the way it would go down, guys. This is how it would happen. And this is the way to ease it in. And I'm going to talk about a lot of the stuff with that. So anyhow, what you're looking at right now is the fact that, look, I say I'm the Alcor Star Child. Obviously, I come from the Alcor Star System. And you've seen that with when I was invited out to Utah. And I'm not going to go through all that whole thing where we found the Stargate, not a portal, but a Stargate, which takes you to the Alcor when it's in alignment, as well as the one that's at Serpent Mound and elsewhere. So in 2020, and I found it, like, I just found this out not too long ago with this from Space Force. Space Force has a Delta 7 with, ta-da, the Big Dipper on it. And by the way, it's 7, and somebody had pointed out to me, hey, look, it's pointing at 2 stars, so it's like, this star to that star, which is pointing to the North Star, by the way. And that pointing to the North Star is because when you look at the Big Dipper, that part of the dipper always points at a star, which there's also some other stuff behind that that people have put together. I'm not going to go into that today. But you can see in this logo here with the bear. Remember I said there was a bear in a cave that told me that you're looking in the wrong place for the portal, which was the Stargate. So there was a communication that I had with a bear in a cave. And there's a bear on here. And you also see that the bear has his paw on a key, holding down the key. Key goes into what? It goes into a lock. And usually you will find locks on doors, right? Gateways. Okay, what are the odds? I mean, they could have put anything else here. However, they have a bear holding down a key, right? And we're going to talk about what this part of Delta is as well, this Delta 7. It's the intelligence part of the Space Force branch. It's that's what it is. It's the intelligence. Like this whole thing with the Alcor, with the Big Dipper, could have been any other part of, it could have been any, they could have used all different types of images, different constellations and anything else. However, they used the intelligence for, and the number 7 and there's 2 stars, which that person pointed out the 2 stars, it's like saying 72 for that. So it just, what are the odds? And by the way, you're going to see a picture of a general who has that on his, right? Like the picture of the general who has that on his, in this video, he has that on his, you see he has the Alcor, the Big Dipper on one side, and on the other side he has what? 72. Right? It's just, what are the odds? And that, let me get to this first. So Space Force, if you go to Space Force logos and you go through there, you'll see, and you just go to, if you go to Delta 7, then you'll see on Delta 7, and you go to the pictures, you'll see all these other crazy looking logos that are in here, right? And we're going to talk about some of those too. What is the significance of this? What is really going on with Space Force? Well, Space Force is preparing for massive alien contact on this planet. You'll see like here, I don't know if this is real, but I tried to find if it's real or not, but there's a Bigfoot carrying a lightning bolt. Then there's Thor's hammer. So if there's Bigfoot carrying a lightning bolt, does it mean that they're going to have contact with Bigfoot species? But I don't know if this is fake, because I could not find these logos. If you're looking right now, I cannot find those logos on the Space Force site. So I'm not sure if that's just fake, if somebody's just making that up or whatever. It does look in alignment like the ones that you see with the Delta 7. And here's another one too. There's one with an octopus. What is that? Who knows? Maybe an octopus type species. There's also a gargoyle. So we're seeing a gargoyle logo here. There's the one with these big wings with the sword. I'm guessing that's probably Anunnaki, without just putting an angel out there or an Anunnaki looking being. But wings and a sword are an Anunnaki type symbol. You have another one here with this Tiamat, or this 6-headed dragon. What is that? Reptilian species that they're talking about? Maybe the reptilian species has, a council of 6. Is that what that means? The 6 heads of this reptilian dragon creature with a star above it. What star is that? Where are they coming from? Is that Draco? You have over here, if you look here, you'll see where they show this one with the 7-headed or the 6-headed dragon. You'll see next to that the Bigfoot and the Alcor. Now the Alcor one we can confirm because the Big Dipper, because it's on their website, right? And I'm going to show you that in a minute. So I don't know where somebody found these other two, but if they are, well then there you go. This one has the number 62 and it has a Bigfoot. What does that mean? And then here we have the 6-headed dragon. So it makes you, and then also we have the gargoyle, okay, which I already told you that Mothman are gargoyles, and in the past they used to protect the humans. It's the reason why it's always been. So yeah, if you look in here, you'll see a bunch of, as you're going through the logos, Here's one with a snake with a. But some of these could be fake. I don't know, unless I actually see them on military personnel, unless I actually see them on Space Force website, then I'm not going to put too much stock into them until I actually see evidence, because anybody can make up a picture and put it on here, and people could just believe it. Now, when I see a video, a Space Force video, and there's a general or whatever or captain talking, and they have that logo on their arm, well, I mean, I have to take that as legit, right? If they're on the news and they have that on their arm, if it's on, you know, you go to .gov and it's there, then we have to take that as legit. So if you put in Space Force logo and just Delta, when we go to all here, we get the Sphinx, right? 18 Space Force Delta 18 it has the Sphinx. Now, why is that? Why is the Sphinx on there? Same thing as why is the pyramid on your dollar, right? Which, by the way, not only is there a Sphinx with that logo that's in Space Force, and you can see this is Space Force Operation Commands.mil. This is the military's. This is their. For some reason, this picture is messed up right now, but this is from the military. This is their website from Space Force. And like I told you before, America it's 3 words: Amir, Ra, and Ka. And if you haven't heard me break that down, go and watch my video where I break down America and how it is. It's Anunnaki. This is their. This is part of their plans, part of their land. You know what's going to be going down. So. Don't be surprised if you see, when the veil lifts, Anunnaki here in America. And people are going to go, oh my gosh, they're angels, you know, and they're going to see these winged reptilian beings. They're going to say, oh, those are demons. Going to come find out that they're all most likely working together, and that the whole religion thing is. We won't get into that. But so yeah, if you go here and you look it up, there it is. There's the evidence of it. Now let's keep moving on. So if we go to, this is on the Space Force. This is spaceforce.military. So this is the military's website. And as you go through there, you'll see, you can look it up and you can see these generals, you can see these people who are running Space Force. Which, by the way, like I said, 2 of these people in here, 2 of them, and I'm not going to say who, are working very close on my case, you know, with the whole thing with the finding the Alcor Stargate and what happened with me in 2017. And so a couple of these people in here know about everything that's going on and most likely have contacts. So let that sink in, that's and like I said, I don't have anything against these people. Maybe they absolutely hate me, maybe they detest me, maybe they wish I'd go away. I'm sure that they have some type of plans or whatever of how they're going to deal with things. And personally, I don't have any animosity or angry or hatred towards them. If they're letting their feelings, or if they're being misguided by another species setting them up for enslavement, then that's on them. I advocate for, like I said before, I advocate for, all humans, all, not one side or the other, or one country or one race or one political view or whatever, but all humans to have advanced telepathy. That removes all the fog. Remove the fog, give everybody advanced telepathy, so everybody's on an equal playing field. Imagine having to try to trick somebody and go to war with them when you all have advanced telepathy and you can all know each other's intentions and plans. Imagine that. So, yeah. Next is, if you go here and you go to Space Force, if you look up Space Force and you see their logo, well, one of the things that people pointed out right away when they saw the logo is, hey, that's like the Star Trek logo, which I don't know if I noticed that before other people noticed it. I'm sure I didn't, or maybe I heard it before I noticed it. I don't remember. The chicken or the egg, who knows? But a lot of people pointed out that, and this is their official logo. And the thing is, well, okay, so this is the logo without the little star up on top. So if you go to, and this is on Space Force let's see here, let's go home. And then let's look at their, so I guess I think that they are changing the logo to now just having the star in the middle and not having what used to be the original logo that they had, which was the star up top, because that star up top, that logo looked a lot like the Star Trek. So this is what it, and I'm going back here backwards. This is what it used to look like. In fact, if you click this here, you can see United States Space Force logo, and you can see the Starfleet Command United Federation of Planets logo. And this is from Star Trek, and this is from the reality that you know. And how very similar they are with the ring going around it, this ring going around that, you know. And so the thing is, when people think that Space Force, when they built this design here, that they did that just because, and they had no idea, no influence from this, you're sadly mistaken. They knew about this logo long before they created this logo. Whoever created this logo made it to go in league with this logo. Even here, like you see these two little things here on each side of this, right? And then you see the two stars here. So you have the I forget what that symbol is, a little arrow going up, and you have these two X's on each side, right? These logos are so identical, it's undeniable. And the reason why they put it in, the best place to hide something is right in front of your face, right? Most people won't look at, they'll look past what's right in front of them, just like the 1972 stuff, but they'll look past what's right in front of them. And it's right here, right in front of you, that they're telling you that Space Force is not just to deal with other, you know, countries and humans on this planet, but Space Force is created to deal with this galactic, international federation type stuff, or whatever you want to say, this galactic federation, which, by the way, Lou Alessandro has pretty much already kind of put that out there, that yes, there is a galactic federation, right? So he's drip feeding you this information that this is going down, and your minds have been being prepared for this day to come. And yes, Space Force is there working. Most likely there are people in Space Force who are working with alien species to get this stuff front and center and to move forward with it. So, and it's here in the logo. This is the logo, and this was their original logo. And I think that they're changing it because, for whatever reasons, I don't want to say why. I don't know why. I have no idea why it's moved from this, because if you look at, let's see, if you look at some of these people from Space Force, that work in there, they have that patch. They've had that patch. So now the logo is has moved more towards this looking thing here. So, you know, that's, and this is all important stuff, because they're putting it in front of your face for you to see. And if you, like I said, if you look at Alcor, you know, the company Alcor, which pretty much led me to all this stuff too. Look at the logo here. We have that same arrow going up and the star on the side, just like we did from Space Force and Starfleet Command. And when I went to Alcor and I asked the lady, and you can just watch the video, you know, are they actively working with NASA to put people in space? You know, cryogenics to freeze people who want space. Have you not seen that already in movies? I know you have. Even the movie Aliens, what do? It starts off where they're in a type of a cryo sleep, right? To slow the body down, slow everything down by freezing you. And anybody who thinks that Alcor is not a reality of people coming back to life from Alcor, no, is sadly mistaken, because you're only thinking of human technology to bring them back, and not the alien technology and the alien species that are already here that have the technology to bring these people back. So imagine that. That's also going to change a lot too. So yeah, Alcor, and then, you know, and then, like I said, the whole thing with, oh, here's the, This is the Star Trek logo that I just showed you. I guess I already had that up there. So yeah, moving on here. So if you go to Space Delta 7, all you got to do is just type in, all you have to do is just type it in, Space Force Delta 7, and it'll take you to their website. You click it. Here's Delta. This is from the military. Spaceforce.military. There's no denying that it's right there. And by the way, and here we go. This talks about Squadron 71, Squadron 72, and Squadron 73. So they're involved with these 3 squadrons, right? And there's 2 branches of Delta 7. One is in, I think in Florida, which, by the way, Space Force, Florida, hello. They're the big center is there. And they also have one here at Wright-Patterson Air Base. And 71, 72, and 73. It's just bizarre that those would be right then and there, right there. And so, and it's right here on Space Force, Space Delta 7 with the logo. I don't know why the pictures are so why they're so enlarged right now. They shouldn't be that. It wasn't that before. Something's going on with the site. They're working on it for some reason. Something's going on. But look, when Space Force first came out, people tried to make a joke out of it, right? And then they came up with this show called Space Force, and they put it on Netflix, which is a comedy with Dave Carell, and I watch it. There's some stuff in there that's pretty funny. Yeah, it's enjoyable to watch. But the thing is they had to get permission from the military, from the government, and from the Space Force branch to film this show. And they wanted people to, and they still, I think to this day, until the time when the veil lifts, I think they kind of want people to kind of ignore Space Force, kind of take it as a joke and not really take it serious. Think of it like Jackie Chan's drunken boxer, right? You see the guy, he's drunk, he looks like he can't defend himself, and then all of a sudden he's whooping your ass with drunken kung fu, right? And that's what this is. It's that same misdirection. Make the people laugh at it, make them think it's a joke. And there are people even in the military who are not part of Space Force, but are in the military who think that Space Force is a joke. And they think that it's not I'm not saying everybody in the military, but there are people that I've seen on YouTube videos, stuff like that, are ex-military, and maybe some even active military, who think that it's not a real, legit thing. They think it's just kind of a joke and all this and that. And that's not the case. And in fact, I watched a video where a guy said, it was just released about 2 weeks ago, the truth behind Space Force. It was garbage. I thought, okay, we're going to get some real stuff. It was just some guy who was a white-wing Christian who was bitching about political things that were going on inside what he saw in the Space Force with this commanding general or whatever. And it's not going to give you any information really that's going to help you in any kind of way. In fact, he was more of he sounded like he was a flat earther. I'm like, dude, how can you be Space Force and you sound like you're a flat earther and just buys into every freaking conspiracy theory, and thinks that aliens, and he just made it kind of like aliens weren't really a real thing. And I'm like, okay, well, that's part of misdirection. You got to be damn foolish to think that. That's the reason why, it's probably the reason why he got fired from the military. He didn't, they say, oh, he's brave, he left the military. No, he didn't leave, he got fired. But anyhow, they try to make a joke out of it here with Steve Carell and doing the Space Force show. That's all classic misdirection. Kind of like the show MASH that came out in 1972 about Vietnam. Make it look more light and funny and stuff about what's happening in Vietnam. Make a comedy out of it. These medics, instead of, all the harsh reality of what really was going on in Vietnam. Same thing. I look at that the same thing as the Space Force show. Also, Trump, everybody says Trump created Space Force. He did not create the Space Force. It wasn't like he was sitting up late at night figuring out what do we need here for next branch of military? What do we got to do here? So, and he was like sitting there concocting, we should come up with a Space Force and all this. That's just not the truth. It's just not how it works. At least Trump didn't. It's not like he did that specifically by himself. Now, did he have a lot to do with it being passed and that going into effect while he was in office? Absolutely, just like Harry Truman did with the Air Force. 1947, by the way. And so, if you look through here, United States Space Force, created in 2019, under Donald Trump. Well, they say right here, President Donald J. Trump signed into law legislation creating the first new armed services since 1947. And what that force was the Air Force. 72 years later, if you take 1947 to 2019, it's exactly 72 years later. 72 years later, and as you should know, 1972 is when Harry Truman died, who is the president who was in office when the Air Force was created. By the way, same thing with Project Blue Book, which ended up in Wright-Patterson Air Base, and we're going to get into that too, because 1947 is also when the Air Force was created in 1947. Was the same time that the Roswell crash happened. The Roswell incident, or simply Roswell, was the July 1947. The same time that the Air Force, so the Air Force was created right after that, right after Roswell happened. And there have been plenty of ex-military people and some people from the government that said that the crash from Roswell ended up at Wright-Patterson Air Base, which is now where you will find Delta 7 is there. So, and if you go here, for better or worse, Wright-Patterson Air Base has always loomed large in UFO lore, which is another reason why. So there's a lot of people who talk about how that Roswell crash, the bodies and the materials didn't just go out to Area 51, but actually went to Ohio, Wright-Patterson Air Base, which, by the way, in 72 there are people who try to break into there, and that's documented. So I'm going to try to wrap this up pretty quickly here. So this is all this stuff is connected, and it's all connected to Space Force, and all has to do with alien species. There's a video here of a guy a general talking about
So Delta 7 is the Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Delta. Right. Many years ago, really just even 2 years ago, space was still kind of considered a benign environment. The only thing we worried about really was either space weather or safety of flight, right? Not running into each other. But today, our major adversaries have put things in orbit or doing things in orbit that hold our capabilities at risk. And that's where we come in, is to understand the threat, to enable our operations, continuity of operations, understanding what's going on so that we can react accordingly. On orbit, who is doing what and why, right? It's really the why. So Space Delta 7 has a myriad of different intelligence collection systems that we operate that leverage both organic capabilities that we, the Space Force, control, as well as leveraging our national mission partners across the intelligence community. So Space Delta 7 is kind of unique in that we force present detachments of personnel to every other Space Delta. And their role is to provide intelligence support to both the Delta commander that they're supporting, as well as the operations teams that they're embedded with. But we also collaborate across all of our additional forces within Space Delta 7 to ensure that we are working together and not against each other. Delta 7 is headquartered at Peterson Space Force Base, and we have squadrons and detachments spread across the globe.
So you can watch the videos talking about Delta 7, watch videos about Space Force, and when you watch this stuff, I want you to think bigger. I want you to think about alien species and stuff like that. And the fact that that general, I think that guy's a general, I'm not sure. And you can see right here in the fact that the 72 patch, right? Like I had to look that up because he has on his one arm, he has the logo with the Big Dipper, and on the other arm, he has the 72. I mean, it's just, what are the odds of this stuff? What are the odds of that? And it has the eagle, right? And so I had to look that up to make sure it was legit. And yeah, it's legit. And and I had to look up what that meant. And this all has to do with intelligence and information. In fact, if you go to it right here, I'll bring this up here. 72nd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Squadron. I mean, that's... Do you need to know how important that is? Nothing else in Space Force, nothing in Space Force, nothing in the Navy, in the Air Force, in the Marines, in the Army, none of those branches can move without these three things first. These are the first three foundations that make everything else work. It's not that the other things work first. This is the root of what is going to happen next. And it's because they study the past, present, and future, and this all has to do with intelligence and surveillance and reconnaissance. And you can see it right here, the 72nd. It's the 72nd, and that's also what Delta 7 is. And if you look it up right here, if you go here, the 72nd Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance Squadron, 72, and it has the ISRS, is a United States Space Force unit assigned to Space Operations Command, Space Delta 7. Well, if you go right there and you click that, what comes up, guys? It's right there. There's the Big Dipper. I mean, do I need to plead the case anymore? Do I need to show any more evidence? It's right there in front of your face. The Big Dipper, the bear on the key, and the 72. And this is if you look at the bigger picture, if you look at what's going on, and you really pay attention with Louis Andro and all these, and David Grush and the pilots, you know, Commander David Graves and the others. If you look at all of these things that are going on, and especially with Ohio and all this stuff, it tells you Space Force. The truth about Space Force is that it is the branch of the military getting ready for species from other worlds, other planets, other dimensions, and everything else. Therefore, the bigger picture, and that's really what I believe that the truth of how Space Force is going to be the number one branch of the military. Right now, it's just a branch of the military. But it will be, once that all happens and once all this opens up, this will be the branch of the military that runs the entire, everything in the military. Air Force, Navy, Marines, Army, they will all answer to Space Force Command. Because now you're dealing with not just the stuff that's going on Earth, because the wars which are happening now, which are just pushing us further and closer to the veil lifting. So I'm not against the wars, I'm not for them, but I'm just observing it because this is what appears what's happening. This is going to get you ready for all that, and Space Force is going to be at the forefront. And with that, enjoy the rest of the time that you have left.
The next generation of U.S. soldiers for a new frontier will be trained in Brevard County.
Yes, they will. Patrick Space Force Base will be the headquarters for what will now be known as STARCOM. West News' Space Coast Bureau Chief Scott Heiler talked to those behind the effort to bring it here.
The U.S. Space Force has selected the Space Coast for its training headquarters, known as STARCOM. Patrick Space Force Base beating out 5 other bases in California and Colorado.
Think about what we're going to be doing here. As Space Force will maintain and expand our space dominance. The Guardians, who will be developing the warfighters of the future via space for tactics and procedures, will all be done here.
Not just training Space Force soldiers, Guardians as they're called, but developing what warfare in the new domain will look like. All that activity here will boost the economy, with the many coming into the Space Coast for STARCOM. Economic impact here, but training that will have a much bigger security reach.
STARCOM's headquarters here will train Americans for the next frontier of warfare in space. And it's not just going to be military assets like spy satellites. It's going to be protecting national infrastructure that's now up in space.
For telecommunications, for managing our power grid, for driving literally these air traffic control and our transportation systems. They're a critical part of our space economy.